Hello and thank you for tuning into News Today, where we break down the day's top stories with precision and clarity. Without delay, let's explore the headlines first. Forest fire has been observed recently in several regions of Uttarakhand. According to a study, climate change has slowed Earth's rotation and could affect timekeeping. A study titled Future Projections for the Tropical Indian Ocean has predicted accelerated warming of the Indian Ocean. International Energy Agency has released a policy brief titled Standards for a Net Zero Iron and Steel Sector in India. Indian Space Research Organisation has released Indian Space Situational Assessment Report for the year 2023. Vice President has called for reforming the Indian arbitration system. Let us begin with the very first news for the day. Forest fire has been observed recently in several regions of Uttarakhand. To this, the authorities have responded swiftly, employing specialized aerial firefighting tools such as the Bambi bucket to douse the flames in targeted areas by pouring water from above. But what exactly is a forest fire? It refers to any uncontrolled and non-prescribed burning of plants in a natural setting, such as a forest or grassland, where the fire consumes natural fuels and spreads based on environmental conditions like wind and topography. According to the India State of Forest Report 2021, Odisha reported the highest number of forest fires between November 2020 and June 2021, followed by Madhya Pradesh. Alarmingly, more than 36% of the country's forest cover has been estimated to be prone to frequent forest fires. So, what causes these devastating fires? Well, there are both natural and man-made factors at play. Natural causes include lightning strikes, increased temperatures and dryness, and friction created by rubbing branches. On the other hand, human activities such as carelessly discarding cigarette butts or setting farmlands on fire can also ignite forest fires. The impact of these fires is far-reaching and severe. They lead to deforestation, loss of biodiversity and wildlife habitats, and soil erosion, ultimately affecting the productivity of the land. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, the Indian government has taken several steps to protect forests from fires. The National Action Plan of Forest Fires, launched in the year 2018, aims to mitigate the risk and impact of forest fires. Additionally, the Forest Survey of India has developed the One Agni Geoportal, a single point of information on forest fires, to aid in monitoring and response efforts. Furthermore, the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 prohibits setting fires in wildlife sanctuaries, underscoring the importance of preserving these vital ecosystems. But prevention is always better than cure, and there are several measures that can be taken to minimize the risk of forest fires. One such measure is the construction of watchtowers for early detection of fires. Additionally, involving local communities and creating and maintaining fire lines can prove highly effective. There are two types of fire lines in practice. Kacha fire lines, where undergrowth and shrubs are removed while trees are retained to decrease fuel load. And Pakka fire lines, which are clear felt areas separating one forest or compartment from another to control the spread of potential fires. As the forest fires in Uttarakhand highlights, the threat of these blazes is ever present and requires vigilance and a multi-pronged approach. By employing advanced firefighting techniques, implementing robust policies, and fostering community engagement, we can safeguard our precious forest and the invaluable biodiversity they harbor. Ahead in the news, according to a study, climate change has slowed Earth's rotation and could affect timekeeping. Earth rotates on its axis relative to the Sun every 24 hours means solar time with an inclination of 23.45 degrees from the plane of its orbit around the Sun. However, Earth's rotation is not constant and is affected by three major geophysical processes. First geophysical factor affecting Earth's rotation is tidal dissipation. Tidal dissipation means friction between ocean water and the sea floor, both in shallow seas and in deep ocean. It has progressively slowed Earth's rotation. Second factor playing an important role in Earth's rotation is the Earth's core. Changes in the flow of currents in the molten outer core of the Earth affects its spin. And third geophysical process affecting Earth's rotation is glacial melting. As polar glaciers melt, the water mass gets redistributed throughout the oceans, pooling most noticeably around the equator. This changed the Earth's shape, making it flatter, which further slows down its rotation speed. Now let's talk about the findings of the study. It suggests that while Earth's rotation is speeding up in recent years due to changes in its core, the melting of polar ice mass due to climate change has decelerated such speeding up. Interestingly, to keep clocks in sync with the Earth's rotation, the speeding up of Earth's rotation would have necessitated the addition of a negative leap second in 2 years' time. However, climate change has delayed such addition by another 3 years to 2029. Speaking of leap seconds, let us get to know further about what is a leap second. Historically, Coordinated Universal Time is followed as the time standard in which a day lasts 86,400 seconds, that is 24 hours, 60 minutes and 60 seconds. However, the average length of a day depends on Earth's rotation speed. In case of fluctuation in Earth's rotation speed, leap seconds are added to UTC. A negative leap second is subtracted in case of slowing of Earth's rotation, while a positive leap second is added to compensate for the speeding up of Earth's rotation. This study highlights the interconnectedness of Earth's processes and the impact of climate change on timekeeping. Ahead in the news, a study titled Future Projections for the Tropical Indian Ocean has predicted accelerated warming of the Indian Ocean. Let us first start by delving into the key findings of the study. Firstly, the models predict that the Indian Ocean will experience an accelerated warming rate of 1.7 degrees Celsius to 3.8 degrees Celsius per century from 2020 to 2100, a significant increase from the 1.2 degrees Celsius per century rate observed from 1950 to 2020. Furthermore, the study indicates that the maximum warming will be concentrated in the Arabian Sea, which is the northwestern region of the Indian Ocean. But the predictions don't stop there. The study also suggests that marine heat waves, which are periods of extreme ocean warming, are expected to increase from an average of 20 days per year to a staggering 220 to 250 days per year. This means that the tropical Indian Ocean could potentially transition into a near-permanent heat wave state that can have far-reaching consequences. Moreover, in a high-emission scenario, the study expects the minimum average temperature in the Indian Ocean basin to stay above 28 degrees Celsius by 2100, a significant departure from the 26 degrees Celsius to 28 degrees Celsius range observed during the period from 1980 to 2020. The impacts of this accelerated warming of the Indian Ocean are multifaceted and severe. One major concern is thermal expansion due to increased heat content, which would contribute to a sea level rise, putting coastal communities at risk. Additionally, marine heat waves may lead to habitat destruction, such as coral bleaching, seagrass destruction, loss of kelp forest, and rapid intensification of cyclones, threatening the delicate balance of marine ecosystems. Furthermore, the study warns of a potential increase in the frequency of extreme Indian Ocean dipole events. The IOD is marked by temperature differences in the Indian Ocean, with warm waters pushed towards the western region during a positive IOD event, which is favorable for rainfall in the Indian subcontinent. Conversely, during a negative IOD, warm waters are pushed towards the eastern region. Other impacts of the warming Indian Ocean include increased ocean acidification and a decline in net primary productivity. Faced with these daunting challenges, it is imperative that we take proactive steps to mitigate the impacts of the warming Indian Ocean. Reducing global carbon emissions through concerted global efforts, investing in resilient infrastructure to withstand the effects of sea level rise and extreme weather events. Additionally, conserving marine ecosystems through sustainable practices, enhancing forecasting capabilities, and promoting adaptive agriculture to ensure food security are all crucial components of a comprehensive strategy. The project accelerated warming of the Indian Ocean, leading to prolonged marine heat waves and significant sea level rise, poses severe risk to marine ecosystems, coastal communities, and climate stability. Immediate global action to reduce carbon emissions and implement adaptation measures is essential to mitigate these impacts and safeguard biodiversity and human livelihoods. Moving on to the next news. International Energy Agency has released a policy brief titled Standards for a Net Zero Iron and Steel Sector in India. This policy brief focuses on the critical need for standards related to low and near zero emission steel, including emissions measurement, methodologies, definitions, and emissions thresholds. But why is standardization in the steel sector so important? Well, let's have a look at its benefits one by one. Firstly, it can lead to increased acceptance of emission-related measures by producers due to simplified processes. Secondly, it can help policymakers reduce duplicating efforts and minimize trade barriers. And thirdly, standardization can aid countries in setting a common verification approach and improving emissions understanding across various actors in the steel value chain. Recognizing the importance of this issue, both India and the global community have taken initiatives to standardize the steel sector. In India, the Steel Scrap Recycling Policy of 2019 and the Perform, Achieve and Trade scheme under the National Mission for Enhanced Energy Efficiency have incentivized the steel industry to reduce energy consumption and emissions. Furthermore, the Ministry of Steel has formed 14 task forces to support the development of its roadmap for green steel. On the global front, the COP26 in 2021 launched the Steel Breakthrough under the Breakthrough Agenda, focusing on definitions and emissions measurement methodologies for the steel sector. More recently, at COP28 in 2023, the Steel Standard Principles were introduced, aimed at developing definitions and measurement methodologies for low and near-zero emission steel. However, to truly standardize the steel sector and achieve net zero emissions, several measures are required. These include setting clear timelines for emissions reduction, establishing robust measurement methodologies, and defining what constitutes near-zero steel. Additionally, efforts must be made to create markets for low-emissions materials and products, develop novel emission reduction technologies, and formulate policies to support commercial-scale low-emissions production. Furthermore, mobilizing finance and investment in sustainable steel production will be crucial in driving this transition. The importance of this endeavor cannot be overstated, especially for a country like India, which is the second largest steel producing nation, accounting for 7% of the total global crude steel production. The steel sector is highly reliant on coal, which is used both as a reducing agent to extract iron from iron ore and to provide the necessary carbon content required in steel. Consequently, steel industry is largest coal consumer and is also responsible for a staggering 7 to 9% of global greenhouse gas emissions, with India's steel sector alone accounting for 12% of the country's carbon dioxide emissions. A figure expected to double by 2030 due to the government's infrastructure push. Ahead in the news, Indian Space Research Organisation has released Indian Space Situational Assessment Report for the year 2023. ISAR is a comprehensive analysis of the space object population and associated risks. The report, compiled by ISRO's System for Safe and Sustainable Space Operations Management, or IS4OM, indicated a steady growth in the number of space objects, underscoring the growing importance of space situational awareness and space debris mitigation efforts. It's worth noting that IS4OM has been operational since the year 2022, with the primary objective of safeguarding ISRO's space assets. Now let's delve into the key highlights of the ISAR for 2023. On a global scale, the report revealed that more objects, that is 3,143 objects, were placed in orbit during 2023 compared to the previous year, that is 2,533 objects in the year 2022. Additionally, there were 5 major on-orbit breakup events in 2023, further contributing to the growing problem of space debris. Turning our attention to the Indian scenario, the report highlights that since the start of India's space journey until 31st December 2023, a total of 127 Indian satellites have been successfully launched into space. Notably, in 2023, all 7 of ISRO's launches, including the historic Chandrayaan-3 and Aditya L1 missions, were successful. However, this growth in space object population has led to an increasing trend in collision avoidance maneuvers, which are necessary to safeguard operational spacecraft in case of close approaches by other space objects. The concerns associated with the growing space object population are multifaceted. Firstly, there are risks to spacecraft operations as highlighted by the increasing trend of CAMs conducted by India. India had to carry out 23 CAMs in the year 2023 to protect its space assets. Secondly, there is the looming threat of the Kessler syndrome, a phenomenon where the junk in the orbit around the Earth reaches a point where it creates more and more space debris, potentially rendering certain orbital paths unusable. Additionally, space debris poses a direct threat to the lives of astronauts engaged in space missions. In response to these challenges, India has taken proactive steps to mitigate the risks associated with space debris. These include the implementation of space object proximity analysis for satellites, which involves the prediction of close approaches through IS4OM and ISRO's telemetry, tracking and command network. Furthermore, collision avoidance analysis is conducted for launch vehicles, and ISRO's Network for Space Object Tracking and Analysis, or NETRA project, plays a crucial role in monitoring and tracking space objects. Additionally, India has adopted practices such as controlled re-entry of decommissioned satellites and spacecrafts, further contributing to the mitigation of space debris. On the international front, India has been actively collaborating with other space agencies through forums like the Interagency Debris Coordination Committee, which includes 13 space agencies fostering global cooperation in addressing this pressing issue. As the ISAR for the year 2023 highlights, the space object population continues to grow, posing challenges to the sustainability of space operations and the safety of space assets. In another news, Vice President has called for reforming the Indian arbitration system. Arbitration, as we know, is a procedure in which dispute is submitted by agreement of the parties to one or more arbitrators who make a binding decision on the matter. It is important to note that arbitration is a quasi-judicial proceeding and is one of the mechanisms of the alternate dispute resolution. Now let us have a look at the arbitration mechanism in India. In India, the Arbitration and Conciliation Act of 1996 governs the arbitral proceedings. This act was based on the United Nations Commission on International Trade Law or UNCITRAL model Law on International Commercial Arbitration 1985 and UNCITRAL Conciliation Rules of 1980. Since its inception, the Act has been amended in 2015, 2019 and most recently in the year 2021. The Arbitration and Conciliation Amendment Act of 2021 introduced a crucial provision allowing for an unconditional stay of the enforcement of arbitral awards in cases where the arbitration agreement, contracts or award itself were obtained through fraud or corruption. Significantly, this amendment was made effective retrospectively from October 23, 2015. However, despite these efforts to strengthen the arbitration system, several issues persist. One of the primary concerns is the lack of diversity in appointing arbitrators, as retired judges tend to dominate the field. Additionally, there is a lack of trust in the system, with skepticism often surrounding the independence and impartiality of the third party. Furthermore, judicial intervention in arbitration proceedings has led to delays in the issuance of awards. In response to these challenges, several measures must be implemented. First and foremost, there is a need to leverage disruptive technologies in arbitration to ensure effective and timely resolution of disputes. This could involve the use of digital platforms, online hearings, and other technological solutions that streamline the process. Moreover, efforts must be made to increase efficiency and build trust in the system, with a focus on quality infrastructure and resources. Additionally, there should be diversity in the source and experience of arbitrators. For example, the inclusion of qualified candidates such as lawyers, academicians, and experts from various fields, in addition to retired judges. Lastly, there is the need for limited court intervention in arbitral awards, thereby strengthening the ADR mechanism in India and ensuring its effectiveness as an alternative to traditional litigation. The place in news for today is Spain with its capital Madrid. It is in news recently as Spain's Prime Minister has refused to resign after a court opened an initial inquiry into his wife over corruption claims. If we talk about its political boundaries, it is located in the southwestern Europe. It shares its land borders with Portugal in the west, Andorra and France in the northeast, and Gibraltar, that is the enclave of Britain. It shares its maritime borders with the Atlantic Ocean in the west, Mediterranean Sea and Balearic Sea in the east, and Alboran Sea in the south. If we talk about its geographical features, its highest peak is the Teide Peak and its major rivers include Tagus, Ebro, Douro and more. If we talk about its climate, then its usual temperature is clear with hot summers in interior, more moderate and cloudy along the coast. As we conclude today's main news, let's have a look at some quick updates. Department of Public Enterprises has granted the Navratna status to Indian Renewable Energy Development Agency Limited or IREDA. IREDA is under administrative control of Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, which was established as a non-banking financial institution in 1987. Ministry of Home Affairs has cancelled the registration of at least 5 non-governmental organizations or NGOs for allegedly violating provisions of Foreign Contribution Registration Act or FCRA 2010. Its nodal ministry is the Ministry of Home Affairs. RBI has released the Draft Master Direction, the Reserve Bank of India Electronic Trading Platforms Directions 2024. For operating ETP, prior authorization or registration with the RBI is required. ETP refers to any electronic system other than a recognized stock exchange on which transactions in eligible instruments are contracted. The National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development or NABARD has sanctioned a study on the impact evaluation of geographical indication or GI products. Presently, 144 products supported by NABARD are GI tagged. Talking about NABARD, it is India's apex development bank established in 1982 under an Act of Parliament. Mangoes were seized after being artificially ripened with ethylene. Ethylene is a colorless, flammable gas having a sweet taste and odor. It is a gaseous plant growth promoter. Pakistan launched its first Hangor-class submarine, which is considered a direct counterpart of India's Kalvari class of submarines. Kalvari class submarines were built by Mazagon Docks Shipbuilders Limited under Project 75. These are the adaptation of French Scorpion class submarines. Data from James Webb Telescope suggest a high probability of dimethyl sulfide gas. On Earth, the living beings are the primary producers of DMS. The K2-18b was discovered in the year 2015. It is a super-Earth exoplanet that is located outside our solar system that orbits an M-type star. A recent study highlighted that based flows have a stronger triggering effect on river floods in peninsular India as compared to rainfall and soil moisture. 6 rivers were studied including Narmada, Tapi, Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri. Before we sign off, let's challenge your understanding in today's installment of Test Your Knowledge. We appreciate your company. We hope you found this episode of News Today engaging. For the solution to today's quiz and to access the PDF version of News Today, remember to visit the provided links in the description.